Okay, so let's start talking about copywriting and how you're going to lay out the messaging for each page of your site. Now, I've given you some resources here about how to lay out the information on each page of your site and some guidelines that you should follow as you're writing out your copy. Now, you may already have copy written out. If you do, you might want to just take it and see how it fits into this structure, because this is a proven copywriting formula that will help lead people through your content, and it makes it really compelling. So I want to make sure that you are putting your content in this order, even if it's not currently in this order as you've written it. So we're going to go over a little bit of the copywriting information here. You have this in your resources that you downloaded on this page. So you'll have this in the folder that you download, and I'm going to talk about the copywriting information, and then we're also going to look at the wireframe elements that are in the library that was also in the resource that you downloaded from day 2. And that way you can see what it's going to look like for each of these elements. And again, each of these elements will mirror the elements that are in Divi, which is the theme we're going to use, which you'll be able to just import into your page and quickly fill in with the change the placeholder image and fill in the copy that you have. So let's just take a quick look at copywriting information and how to structure your page. So I'm not going to read this to you because you have this downloaded, but I do want to go over the structure, especially for the home page and the about page. Those are the two really biggest pages on your site that you need to make sure you're following a structure. So on your home page, the first thing that you should do is put your big idea. So that's who you are, what you do, and who you do it for, basically. So you want to make sure that you're grabbing the attention of the right people and letting them know that you have a solution for them. Underneath that, you need to go into the details of the problem that your ideal client is suffering from. So you need to make sure that you're paying attention to the pain points that they feel, the emotions that they have because this problem exists in their life, and also any other peripheral problems, so other problems that aren't directly related to the problem that you're talking about, but are connected to it and probably affected by it as well. So you want to make sure that you're digging into that, and you can use as much narrative there as possible so that you can really paint that picture. Now, since you're going to remind them that they have a problem, the next thing that you need to do is give them some hope for the future. So you want to talk about the aspirations that they have as they relate to this problem. So if your problem that they're experiencing is the worst case scenario for them, the solution that you offer should create the best case scenario. So you want to include the positive emotions with that, anything that's also tied to other areas of their life or work that would be affected and improved as a result of this problem being solved, and what it would mean to them to have this problem solved. The next thing you need to do is tell a story. So that story can be the story of how you came to offer this. It could be a story of a client that you worked with, where they started, how you worked with them, and where they are now. Or it could be, if you're selling somebody else's products and you haven't worked directly with them, it could be a story of a person who used the product that you are selling. So just make sure that you tell that story. All a story is it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So the beginning is this person or I had this problem. The middle is this is how I felt, this is what I did about it. And the end is this is the result that happened as a result of going through this middle portion. Then the last thing on your homepage that you need to do is offer that change to your reader. So this is where you draw a line between what you're talking about that you do and how it can specifically help them. So you want to do this by saying, I can do this with you. You can list the services that you offer. You can ask them to take the next step and get in touch with you. You can do several things there, but just make sure that you're offering that to them. The transformation that you're talking about doing with your solution, that you're offering that to them. The about page structure, your about page should be much more about your customers and much less about you. So the biggest question your potential customer is asking as they're viewing your whole website is, what's in it for me? Now that seems kind of selfish, but that's really how all of us humans interact with each other, right? So if you go to a networking event and you start talking to somebody and they're telling you that they do something that you have no interest in, you don't need it, you don't want it, how quickly do you want to get away from them, right? It's because they're not talking about anything that benefits you in any way. So just remember that every person who's reading your website wants to know what's in it for me. So if you start talking about yourself too quickly on your about page, you're going to lose the interest of your readers. So make sure that you're making it about them, how what you do helps people like them, and how they can take advantage of what you're talking about. And then at the bottom of the page, that's where you can tell more about why you have the experience that you have, who you are, what you can offer, and everything that would lead your potential customers to say, okay, this is the person that has the solution for me. Your Work With Me page structure is just where you add a lot of detail about the work that you do. So these are the services that you provide. It could only just be one. You don't have to provide more than one service, but if you do provide more than one, make sure that you're detailing all of the services that you provide. So give as much detail about them as you possibly can. And again, look at it from the client's point of view. So if you have a question about something, somebody's saying, I offer this group coaching program, you're going to wonder, how often does it happen? When does it happen? Where does it happen? How many people are you doing this with, right? You have several questions. So look at it from your customer's point of view and ask and answer as many of those questions about each specific service as you can on this Work With Me page. And once you've done that, you need to invite them to work with you. Don't forget the invitation, because a lot of people will put all the information about what they do and they forget to invite somebody to work with them on it, and you're really missing an opportunity if you don't put that direct offer there. And your contact page is really going to be the shortest page. It's just your header and then a message about how to contact you, when to expect to hear back, and the way to contact you. So after I recorded this video, I went back and realized that I hadn't included any information about how to include testimonials. Since they don't really have a tried and true placement that works best, it's best to just pepper testimonials throughout your pages and just include as many as you can. Think about how you act when you're looking at something on Amazon. You want to know what other people think about that. That's exactly what other people are thinking when they're looking at anything that you're talking about offering, is that they want to know what other people thought about it as well, and that's what the testimonials will really help you achieve. So make sure that you're peppering in testimonials as much as you can. Okay, let's get back to the original video. So you're going to put all of your information, all of your copy. You can outline it for each page using this PDF as basically your outline of saying, okay, so in this section, I want to focus on the problem and the pain. In this section, and outline what that is for your service, right? And then in the aspiration section, just write all these things down. Now, what you really need to understand is that, and what we're going to look at next, is that all of the elements that I'm going to give you to plug into your pages, it's going to be kind of a choose your own adventure kind of website creation, because we have all of these elements, and you have this in your folder that you downloaded as well. And this is just going to show you up close what each of the options look like. Now, a couple things that I want to point out so that you can use these later and know exactly what you're looking for as you use this sheet and then go into the wireframing program, which I'll show you in a video after this. So first of all, up here in blue text is the name of the element. Now, these main website header options, you're going to have only one of these that will be consistent through all pages. This is something that you'll set within WordPress, and these are the names of what they're called within WordPress. So this is the default header. This one is called Centered Inline Logo. So you've got this logo right here that's centered and in line with your menu links. This one is also Centered Inline Logo, but this is with a logo that's square, 400 by 400. So those were the two options that you were given when you were creating your logo yesterday. So if you have a 400 by 400 logo, this is pretty much your best option, because otherwise it's really going to take up a lot of space in the top of your page to have something that's so tall that really doesn't do anything to show your readers what you do. So this is probably the best option if you are going to use a 400 by 400 logo. And then this one is called centered. So this one, the logo is centered above, and then your menu links are below. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can see up again in the top left in blue text is the name of the element. Okay, so since these are headers, this is H1, H2. So this is going to be one big image, okay? But there's going to be a person or a person's head or something of visual interest on this side of the page. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person, but your visual interest, anything that's busy in the photo will be over here. And then this will show you your dimensions that you'll need to create these images in. And you'll also have all the placeholder images in your folder so that when you're creating your graphics later, you can use those placeholder images to make sure that you're putting the busy part of the photograph over where it's supposed to be, and that's going to help you make sure that none of the text that's over here is going to run over the face of the person who's in the photo if you're using a face, or if there's like a mountain or something really big here that's going to be hard to put text over, it would be hard to read, then you want to make sure that that text isn't going to come over onto that. So you'll want to use the placeholder images as a guideline and place your images over it so that you can see that you're lining up where the person's face is and putting the most visually complex portion of that photo over that area. So on your desktop, you would see you need to have a 1920 pixels by 814 pixels image. And that's this whole big area right here with the visual interest being on the left side. You'll need to create another one that's very similar to this, but that size will be 1260 pixels by 814 pixels. And that way, you're going to have two elements that basically live together on your site. One will be shown if you're on a desktop or a tablet, and the other will be shown if you're on a mobile device. And that way, it's always going to look the same. And again, your placeholder image will show you exactly where you need to lay everything so that the text doesn't run over the image. So we've got H2 as well, and that one is just mirrored from H1. H3 is a background, so this one could have something around the border. If you paid attention to the sales page or the landing page for this challenge, there was an image used that had like an iPhone and a computer keyboard and a notebook or an iPad, and they were kind of around the periphery of the image. So you could use this this header for an image that has a border, or you could do like a colored or textured background as well. And then H4 is typically used for pages that aren't your home page. So your home page, you're going to want to pick either 1, 2, or 3 to have your header because you have more information, so it needs to be a bit taller. On your other pages, a lot of times you just put the page name in the header, and so you don't need anything different for your desktop and your mobile if you don't have much visually going on over here. If you do, you need to go ahead and make the other 1260 pixel wide image as well. So 1920 by 440. It's best if this isn't something that's real busy, just something that has some texture or some color behind it. And you can use this for any page that is not your home page. Then we get into the content elements, and there are 8 of these, so I won't go through them too much. You can see that some of them have images and text, some of them just have text, but anything that has an image will show you the dimensions that that image will need to be, and that will help you later on when you're going to get your images and sizing them correctly. And then these could either be images or you could create graphics, and we'll talk about creating graphics later. So you would have 3 things across the page. Now this could be services that you provide. This could be emotions, like you could have people feeling emotions. You could talk about different benefits of what you're doing. So this would just be an image or a graphic with a heading and some text underneath. And then this one is also basically the same, only the images are the same size, but the text is only going to be displayed when you hover over the image. So you could use this for testimonials. So if you have images of people, you could have testimonials right here and then just the image of the person, but when you hover over it, it's going to show the text that you have on there. So it's going to like put a color overlay over the person's face and then put the text over that. So you wouldn't have a heading or text below, but you would have it where you could display it when somebody hovers over it. And then this is just to include your offering information. This can be used on your home page or your Work With Me page. And then a call to action, contact boxes, offerings. So we've got one where you have 2 offerings, one where you have 3. This would be the featured offering. So the one that you really want people to do, this is the one that you're going to want them to pick. So we'll walk through that when we're setting that up in Divi. And then testimonials, again, if you want to not use this one where you have the 3, here it is, the 3 boxes where you're hovering over it, I've got 2 different testimonial boxes where you can have the person's picture and their testimonial next to it, and then you don't have to hover over that to see what the testimonial says. So these are the elements that you're going to use to mix and match. So when you have your copy laid out, you can decide for yourself which elements you want to use to achieve the objective that you're talking about. So again, if you wanted to use this section to talk about 3 of the big benefits of working with you, then you could put pictures of people or a graphic that describes or explains the benefit, and then below you can add more information there. Or if you wanted to use something that was an image and then you're talking about the benefit over here, or you could use something that's just text-based where you're talking about the the benefits that you provide and more text. Now, within the wireframing program that we're using, you will be able to add just a block of text that's like a paragraph or bullets or something like this with a heading and text underneath, just so that you know if you have like a section that is more copy heavy and has a lot more words, that you will be able to pull in what looks like much more text, and that way you can get a better visual image of what your page is going to look like when it's complete. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about with your copy is that you want to make sure that your copy is easy to read. So this actually right here, this is probably too long of a paragraph to put on a web page. You want short sentences, short paragraphs, and you want to make sure that you're using headings so that the text is divided up and people's eyes can go all the way down the page by looking at the headings and seeing short paragraphs of information. It's going to be much easier on the eye and much easier for the brain to comprehend and to dive in and read it all. So that is our quick copywriting overview. Go ahead and start writing out the outlines or the copy for each of your pages. And again, once you decide which elements you want to use to achieve each objective, make sure that you're making a note with your copy about what the element is called, so that when you go to build your pages, you know exactly that, okay, so I'm using a C1 element here, this is the text that I want to drop into that. And then later on, I'm going to use this C3 element, and this is the kind of image I want, and this is the text that I want to drop in. So this is going to help you start conceptualizing your website and getting all the pages in order. So I'll talk to you in the next video.